Every opponent came with a plan. Charles Oliveira brought the deadliest guard in UFC history. Alexander Volkanovski brought pound-for-pound perfection. Dustin Poirier brought 15 years of wars and heart. Arman Tsarukyan brought the exact same skill set. And one by one, they all failed against the same man, Islam Makachev. This isn't just a highlight reel. This is the full story of elite fighters who thought they could break the blueprint and the cold reality of what happened when the cage door closed. Because here's what they discovered. Islam doesn't just win fights, he erases hope. Before you can think about your offense, he's taken away your best weapon. Before you realize you're in trouble, you're drowning in his system. The question isn't whether Islam will beat you, it's whether you'll understand how. Islam's blueprint looks simple. Position before damage. Layer threats so every defense opens another attack. Keep a pace that turns 5 minutes into 15. But the execution is suffocating. Instead of diving for double legs like Khabib, Islam walks you into the fence like a chess master, forces the clinch, then attacks trips from angles you don't see coming. Once he traps your wrist, you're no longer fighting with 2 arms. You're surviving with 1. And when you try to adjust, the left high kick is there. The straight left splits your guard. Every feint hides a different danger. That's why the list of failed challengers is filled with elite names. The guard that didn't matter, UFC 280, was supposed to be chaos personified. Charles Oliveira had just submitted Michael Chandler. Dustin Poirier and Justin Gaethje in back-to-back fights. 19 submission wins, the most in UFC history. A guard so dangerous that getting taken down by Charles was tactical suicide. The prediction was universal. Islam might take him down, but he'd regret it. Charles' guard was a death trap. But from the opening bell, something went wrong. Islam didn't just take Charles down, he smothered him. Oliveira never got his hips free, never created the chaos that made him dangerous, never baited the scrambles that turned him into a submission machine. By round 2, Islam was inside control, methodically working to pin an arm. When the space opened, the arm triangle was locked. Charles tapped. The Jiu-Jitsu king was dethroned without ever using his crown. The most dangerous guard in the UFC had been neutralized by pressure, positioning, and patience. Islam proved something terrifying. It doesn't matter how lethal your guard is if you never get to use it. The puzzle that almost fit Perth, Australia. Islam's first title defense. Across from him, the pound-for-pound number 1, Alexander Volkanovski. Relentless, adaptable, impossible to mentally break. If anyone could solve Islam's blueprint, it was the man who'd never lost a featherweight title fight. Volk's strategy was razor-sharp. Stance switches to mess with takedown entries, underhooks to stuff body locks, pivots along the fence to avoid being controlled. And for stretches, it worked. Volkanovski fought out of clinches that trapped everyone else. Landed clean shots that snapped Islam's head back, surged late in the 5th round with championship heart. But Islam's game is about accumulation, not explosions. He banked rounds with precision strikes when grappling stalled, controlled key moments when judges were watching, made Volkanovski work harder for every exchange while staying composed. It was close, it was competitive, it was the blueprint under its greatest stress test, but the belt stayed in Dagestan. Sometimes the perfect puzzle piece still doesn't fit. Respect meets risk. The rematch came under different circumstances. 11 days notice after Charles Oliveira pulled out with an injury. Short notice fights can make dangerous fighters unpredictable. Desperation creates opportunities that training camps can't prepare for. But Islam ended it in 3 minutes. Here's how. The same feint that had set up takedowns in their first fight, the level change that forced Volk's hands down, was still there. But this time, instead of shooting for the legs, Islam launched the left high kick. Shin over glove. Perfect timing. Fight over. Volkanovski had prepared for the wrestler. He got the striker. Same setup, same reads, completely different weapon. That's the nightmare of fighting Islam. Just when you think you've solved one layer, he reveals another. Respect the blueprint, and you get controlled. Solve the blueprint, and you get knocked out. The perfect tactical fighter had been caught between preparing for what Islam does and what Islam could do. Heart versus attrition. Dustin Poirier is the definition of championship heart without the championship luck. Wars with Justin Gaethje, Eddie Alvarez, Max Holloway, Conor McGregor, he's been through every kind of hell the lightweight division can offer. If anyone understood how to survive and thrive in deep waters, it was Dustin. And for the first few rounds, he looked ready for the title he'd chased for years. He defended shots that had taken down Oliveira, landed counters that reminded everyone why his left hand had dropped so many elite fighters, kept Islam honest in exchanges where most opponents wilted. But Islam's pace is like water eroding stone, invisible until the damage is irreversible. More control time, more clinch work, more weight pressing down on your chest until every breath becomes a conscious decision. The rounds don't just accumulate, they compound. By round 5, you could see it in Poirier's body language. Arms a fraction slower, reactions a step behind. The heart was still there, but the vessel was failing. When Islam wrapped the Darce choke, it felt inevitable, not because Dustin quit, but because Islam had been building toward that moment for 24 minutes. Heart can carry you through wars, but it can't carry you through systematic dismantlement. The mirror that fogged sometimes the most telling fights aren't the dominant ones, they're the competitive ones that reveal the smallest margins at the highest level. In 2019, a 22-year-old Arman Tsarukyan made his UFC debut against Islam Makachev. On paper, it was a mismatch, veteran against rookie, established grappler against unknown quantity, but for 3 rounds they looked like mirrors of each other. Traded takedowns with technical precision, scrambled out of positions like they'd trained together for years, matched hips in the clinch with the kind of subtle adjustments that only high-level grapplers recognize. It was one of Islam's toughest stylistic matchups, a fighter with the same tools, the same background, the same understanding of the game. But here's what separated them: veteran composure in the small moments, more ride time when positions were scrambled, more mat returns when scrambles went vertical, more control when the rounds were close. Arman left with a loss and a promise to return. Islam left with a lesson: technical equality isn't enough. Championship fights are won in the margins. The young lion had shown he belonged. The king had shown why he ruled. When elite isn't enough, not every challenge requires 15 minutes to resolve. Some fights reveal the blueprint's efficiency and brutal clarity. Dan Hooker brought the reach, the striking, and the toughness that had carried him through wars with Dustin Poirier and Paul Felder. After seconds of clinch work, Islam tripped him to the mat, passed to side control, and cranked the Kimura. 2 minutes, 25 seconds. The fight never even began. Bobby Green's boxing is slick, his defense awkward but effective. Early exchanges showed promise, slipping shots firing back with rhythm that had troubled other grapplers. But once Islam hit the back ride, the ground and pound never stopped. 3 minutes, 23 seconds. Another quick finish. Drew Dober's chin is granite, his left hand deadly enough to change any fight with one shot. But under Islam's top pressure, power becomes irrelevant. By round 3, the arm triangle was there, and granite chins don't help when you can't breathe. 3 different fighters, 3 different skills, same result. Elite wasn't enough. The blueprint doesn't care about your strengths, it systematically removes them. The science of suffocation, it comes down to 3 principles that sound simple but prove impossible to counter. Control first. Islam removes your weapons before deploying his own. While you're thinking about offense, he's already eliminated your best options. You can't submit what you can't reach. You can't strike what you can't square up on. Threat layering. Every defense you choose opens another avenue of attack. Defend the takedown, eat the high kick, stop the high kick, walk into the clinch, escape the clinch, face the straight left. There's no safe choice, because every choice has consequences. Composure under fire. Islam never panics, never forces openings that aren't there, never gets emotional when the fight gets hard. While opponents burn energy trying to escape or explode, Islam stays patient, systematic, inevitable. And here's the truly terrifying part: Islam is still improving. Every training camp, he sharpens the striking that put away Volkanovski. Every fight, he adds wrinkles to the wrestling that smothered Oliveira. Every victory teaches him something new about breaking elite fighters. The blueprint isn't static, it's evolving. The unsolved equation: if Charles Oliveira couldn't submit him, if Alexander Volkanovski couldn't outwork him, if Dustin Poirier couldn't break him, if Arman Tsarukyan couldn't match him, who can? The lightweight division is full of killers. Gathia's violence, Chandler's explosiveness, Fiziev's striking, Gamrot's grappling, but they're all facing the same mathematical problem. Islam's system doesn't have obvious weaknesses to exploit. You can't out-grapple the wrestler who submitted the submission specialist. You can't outstrike the striker who knocked out the pound-for-pound king. You can't out-tough the fighter who broke the toughest man in the division. So here's the question that keeps the lightweight division awake at night. Who has the tools to crack the Makhachev blueprint? Gathia's violence? Chandler's explosiveness? Or someone we haven't considered? Drop your answer in the comments. Tell me which fighter has something Islam hasn't seen yet, and whether you think they'll solve the equation or become another cautionary tale. Because until someone does, Islam's reign might just be beginning. And the scariest part, he's just hitting his prime. This is Fight Caviar, calm, cold MMA analysis every week. Hit subscribe for more breakdowns that reveal what others miss.